In spite ranks of very pay management team and advisors, big companies can get decisions how appear at top enigmatic and at lowest personality destructive. So how do such a big organizations, led by so paid head management team and in the cash to rental the top personnel and advisors, get in such a anxiety? Get Carillion, for sample. It unsuccessful over the year and thousands of jobs were lose. There are enormous building business signed contracts in income margins so penalty, how intermittent leading in enormous losses. Or throw yours reason behind to Nokia, that one day dominated the marketplace for portable phones, before it unsuccessful to recognize the problem of the iPhone. Down there are several classical traps how big firms are sensitive to. Allows urge them the fatal sins of the enterprise planet. In August 2008 Gary Hoffman walked in the offices of Northern Fate in Newcastle. He had been equipped head execution of the hypothec creditor that had been undertaken above by the government over in the year following nearly crumbling. One of his at first impressions was the luxurious offices and the though more than luxury stuff how were by building. This management had lose connect in the actual planet, Mr. Hoffman says. They were in big offices, individual of their associate. It was constructively hard for their associate to say to them. Northern Fate had subjected a fast extension by offer appealing hypothec deals and funding such deals by brief term loan. They had got transferred off in their own private and enterprise ambitions, he says. In Mr. Hoffman's view, this high you get up yours organization, it is though more than essential how you land oneself. Or if thou re not cautious, human beings will not speak you while things are departure incorrect. At his present business, the underwriter Hastings, Mr. Hoffman says control expend a lot of period speaking to personnel and hard to get things put order for them. It might fair be the meal in the cafeteria, he says. Draft Grimsey is a vet retail dealer, who has seen which a big business in anxiety looks love. In 1996 he was equipped head execution of the DIY circuit Wix that was in risk of crumbling due to an account scam. He grown crisp financial at the business and modified its civilization. One method how he found useful was to expend a 1 week every year work at a various branches and conclusion out which problems the personnel were possessing. Thou mustn't undervalue the impact of the lead on the industry, he says. He has go through head management team who manage by terror, outgoing their link concerned on loser their jobs and fair making as they are said. Mr. Grimsey describes one head execution who ran his business as dictator wherever the client was hardly aforementioned. By such occasion Mr. Grimsey told personnel can refuge to frantic measures, love faking the numbers to hold their lug lucky. Gary Hoffman makes a such spot. Bosses include to be so cautious while behavior in their personnel, particularly while they attitude them in problems, he says. While you own force as head execution and you cry them downward, later they don't go behind really frequently. Nobody can increase quick, says Mr. Hoffman. Thou include to do certainly rather than while you are increasing really quick yours are not take on too lot hazard, he says. He points to the cheap cost airline company industry, wherever customers loving the inexpensive prices, but perhaps several airlines are fair not charge quite to pull through. Head management team requirement to provide how all they do is at anchor in the principles of efficiency, that sounds evident. But Mr. Hoffman says bosses can be dazzled by increase for increases sake. In the retailer segment, he's not unusual for retailers to overlook thing else evident, the client. Mr. Grimsey says, he's while they be smug, they hold supplying the identical things date in and date out and failure to recognize how consumer changing in regulation of their styling and interests and their behavior patterns. On to Mr. Grimsey, boards of directors expend too lot period anxious on the pay and bonuses of the top management team. If you see at the story of the recent 15-year in enterprise Britain, especially retail, especially social companies, these human beings include be hungry, thou ve got to halt creature hungry at the top and begin dividing. Thou ve got to distribution the rewards via out the organization. He points to John Lewis as a superior pattern for profitable personnel. Every year store workers get a stake of the profits, though if, in March the year, John Lewis Association announced bonuses had been cut for the 5-year in a number. Professor Andre Spicer, Prof of Organizational Behavior at Cache High School of Industry, says the way top management team are pay can be portion of the issue. Considerable components of pay pact are done up of stake awards, that can be cashed in too rapidly, he told. Brief period results frequently trump card length term surviving, he says. In several companies down there is a lot of attention located on creation upfront, how makes things looks nice, says Professor Spicer. The can involve conducting undue amounts of cash on brand initiatives, or representing control fads and fashions. Both of such could engage conducting too lot on consultants, that in several cases outsources liability, he says. Enron is a nice sample of a business how constructed a shiny front, how hid profound problems, says Professor Spicer. The power company had been lauded in the click for destruction the power production, but had been concealment billions of dollars of debts and compressed in 2001, at the period the largest fail in U.S. enterprise story. Professor Spicer warns it is distant facilitating to changing a business's picture rather than do actual changes.